Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to iCar's Repairers Realm. We are here today to talk about the F-150 outer box panel replacement, and we've got Gerry Bonanni joining us from Ford. But I'll start with myself. I am Bud Center, Director of Technical Products and Curriculum here at iCar, and to my left I have
Scott Van Hooley. I'm the manager of the RTS team.
Scott Caboose. I am the OEM Technical Liaison for iCar.
And Jeff Bull, I'm the leader of the subject matter expert team here at iCar.
All right, great. Well, Gerry, I see that you've joined us as well. Do you want to introduce yourself to the world if there's anybody out there that doesn't know you?
Hello, everyone. I'm Gerry Bonanni. I'm a senior engineer for paint and body damage repair, Ford Motor Company. Just hit 27 years at Ford, and I'm broadcasting here from the Ford Paint Body Technology Center. Thanks for having me, guys.
No, thanks for joining us, Gerry. So, again, we're going to talk a little bit about the F-150 outer box panel replacement, and we've got some videos that we want to show everybody here. Do we want to jump right into the video, or do you have anything you'd like to say before we get into the video, Gerry?
What I'd like to say is, over the years, there's been some changes in this procedure. We've improved it, we've made it simpler, but we heard the technicians' requests, especially for the wheel lip opening. On the wheel lip opening, people were bothered with the large hemlock or pop rivets that we had specified in the original repair. With the addition of the self-piercing rivet option for that, there's a number of ways that you can do this and make it look OEM correct. So I'll take it away. I'll let you guys run the videos and we can comment as we go further.
This video will show you the key steps in the removal and replacement of a 2015 to current F-150 pickup box outer side panel repair. The procedure can be found in detail in the Ford Workshop Manual online with a subscription to motorcraftservice.com and for members of the Ford Certified Collision Network. The procedure number for this repair is 501-30. It's recommended that you look for the latest procedures through Ford sources. Third-party systems may not be current. You'll find the special tools required to complete this job in the Ford Workshop Manual. For this repair, they include a 6.5mm drill bit, self-piercing rivet remover installer, belt sander, blind rivet gun, hot air gun, MIG-MAG welding equipment, and locking pliers. Required materials include Ford-approved metal bonding adhesive, seam sealer, and flexible foam repair. To repair the Ford factory spray and tough bed liner, refer to www.fordbedlinerrepair.com for lasting repairs that have been tested and approved by Ford Motor Company. There are several side panel removal steps detailed in the Ford Workshop Manual that you'll need to complete prior to the start of the repair. First, you'll remove the pickup bed. For details, refer to the Ford Workshop Manual section 501-04. Remove the tailgate. Remove the tail lamp assembly. For details, refer to the Ford Workshop Manual section 417-01. For left side repairs, remove the fuel filler door and fuel cup. For details, refer to the Ford Workshop Manual section 501-03. Next, remove the top rail cover, lower side trim, and wheelhouse molding if equipped, and remove the fastener at the top of the tail lamp opening. Next, there are a number of SPR fasteners to remove in 5 areas of the pickup box panel using the belt sander. On the top rail, at the front of the box, at the rear of the box, in the tail lamp area, and at the wheelhouse opening. Follow the removal instructions in the Ford Workshop Manual for specific locations. Then, break the adhesive bond and remove the pickup box outer side panel. You can now begin the installation procedure. In the Ford Workshop Manual, there are 2 methods for completing this repair. The first option is rivet bonding and begins after the final Step 12 removal procedure. The second option is labeled plug welds and begins with installation Step 19. Follow the instructions for your preferred installation method, then complete the repair using the instructions that apply to all vehicles, beginning at Step 34. The following procedure covers installation steps when rivet bonding. Start by removing the old adhesive, NVH sealer, and E-coat where indicated in the workshop manual. Keep areas clean. Install the NVH pads on the new panel. Apply adhesive to the top bed rail and wheelhouse opening, and the outside area at the tail lamp. Apply adhesive to the rear areas on the inside of the tailgate area. Using the rivet bonding method, these are the only 4 areas to receive adhesive. Now, install the replacement pickup box outer side panel and clamp it into position. Then, you can begin to drill for rivet fastener installation, starting in the rear pillar area using a 6.5 millimeter drill bit. Rivet the 7 points indicated at the rear of the box. Next, drill for rivet fastener installation in the tail lamp area and install fasteners to the 5 points indicated. Then, drill for rivet fastener installation at the front of the bed near the pickup cab. Install the correct blind rivet type for the top and vertical connection points, as indicated in the workshop manual. On the bottom of the panel and in the wheelhouse, drill for fasteners. Then, install rivets as indicated in the workshop manual. The next blind rivet installation step is to drill for fasteners at the top rail. You will use blind rivets for the 16 points that are between the stake pockets. This area will be hidden underneath the rail cap after reassembly. For the 6 fastener areas between the stake pockets and the pickup bed, you'll use MIG plug welds for a clean appearance. Note that the areas between the stake pockets and the bed should be free of adhesive for 1/4 to 1/2 inch nearest the connection points.
All right, so I think that's a great overview video that really walks people through step by step how to handle that. So we'll start, we do have some questions, Gerry. The first one that
Certainly.
came through, and I think it's really just clarifying maybe some comment that you made earlier, but it says, can you use SPR rivets on the wheelhouse? And I know you addressed that earlier, but maybe just clarification.
Yes, we can. We have the option of using the SPRs in the wheel lip opening, and that is documented in the workshop manual procedure. You can see with the big-headed pop rivets how you would see that on a vehicle that does not have the wheel lip molding. If you have the arch molding, feel free to use the pop rivets or the MIG plug weld method as well.
All right, perfect. I think there was one question that you guys have had through RTS about the rivets, right?
Yeah, so I know we had the availability of the rivets because there's a national recall going on that has been taking up the supply. And I think we just need to spend a little time talking about what a shop should do in the meantime while we're waiting for that rivet supply to come back.
Great question, thank you. So the way I would address it is this: the rivet that is on back order situation is being utilized for, it's a recall that's for a heat shield on both the F-150 and the Super Duty. The problem with the heat shield, it goes in the area of the fuel tank, and if it becomes loose, it can actually damage the drive shaft on the vehicle. So the rivets that are used are for that recall are only used on the pickup box in the area right behind the cab in the front. I would substitute MIG plug welds there. Be honest with you, they look better anyway in that area because you're not going to see the big headed rivet if you look in from the side behind the rear window of the truck. So utilize the MIG plug welding method behind for that location of the rivet that's on back order if you cannot receive them, if you cannot order them, and simply finish it as you would any other repair.
Perfect. Next question, and I know we hear this a lot from Text Jeff when we're talking to people, and it's a question about recommendations for using heat for panel separation.
That's, that question came up in the beginning of the development of the truck. And I found, kind of by accident, I was using my Steck panel chisel, which you saw Ron in the picture. That's Ron Richards, my good friend and my coworker here at the building. Many of you have met him in person. But with what we found out very early is that the glue, the high strength glue, fractures very nicely cold. So if you put the Steck panel chisel into the joint and tap it along the side of the joint, what we found is the glue will fracture. And when I found out from heating the glue it made a gummy, gooey mess, and it would clog up your abrasive discs. So I found it to be much quicker not heating the glue to remove it. That's just my personal recollection of it and feeling. Technicians can, of course, use glue if they choose to, or use the heat if they choose to loosen the glue. But I found that cold fracturing the glue works very well.
Okay, great.
That's a great tip. Thank you, Jerry. In the video, we saw the installation of the MVH pads on the back side of the panel. Is that something
Yes.
that Ford sells, or how do we obtain that part?
You can use any commercially available NVH pad put out by companies like ITW, Evercoat, 3M. There's a number of them out there. You're also welcome to make your own using the liquid materials that the bonding material companies have, such as 3M or Lord, SEM. You can make your own NVH pads using seam sealers, the 1K seam sealers as well.
Great. Thank you, Jerry.
Great. Next question we've got here is when MIG welding, should the original SPR location be used or avoided?
I would go adjacent to it.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that, it seems like a simple question, but we actually get asked that quite a bit by the industry because, a lot of times the repair manual doesn't specify exactly where the location is because it's really left up to the technician to place it in a location that it will actually work, because if there's scalloping and things like that, you have to sometimes adapt where that position will be, within the normal parameters of the repair procedure.
Looking at that removal of that SPR, if you just used a belt sander to take it off, there could be residuals still in there. That's going to get sealed up in adhesive, and that won't be an issue. But ultimately, if I tried to come in there and do an aluminum MIG weld over that, I'm probably going to have some contamination. It gets pretty ugly.
Yeah, because aluminum doesn't like any kind of even paint coatings left there, let alone a dissimilar metal that you're trying to weld over now in that weld puddle. So yeah, it's a basic thing, but it's something that a lot of techs overlook.
We write the manuals to the trained technician, and as you work more and more with the vehicle, you'll see that, and that's kind of a good example of it, that you're going to do the welds adjacent, not on top of the original area. The reason we went with the belt sander is when you look at the locations, a lot of these rivets, it's very, very tough to think about driving a rivet out. In fact, impossible using the SPR tools that are available. Trying to look at other ways like drilling it out, oh my gosh, you're there forever. Now remember that the SPR rivets are composed of boron steel that are specially coated. As they go in, the tooling that installs those rivets is bigger than that bed, of course. So the belt sander really seemed to be the fastest, the quickest way we could mainstream the repair. And again, we look at your technician experience and the level of training that you've done. I mean, if you choose to use the removal tool where you can use it, by all means use it. We leave that to the technician's experience and judgment.
Perfect, thank you. So the next question, I'm going to try to maybe paraphrase this one a little bit, but it looks like the question is asking if SPRs are required anywhere in the repair, because I think we've had the conversation about using pop rivets or welds in place of some of these rivets, and I think the question is, do you need SPRs, or can you use the pop rivet and MIG plug weld in any of these locations?
Truly speaking, Bud, if you have the SPR tool and you have the SPR rivets available to you, doing the wheel lip with them is the nicest repair. It's the easiest way to go. There's clearance for it, and we give you the proper mandrels and drivers in the instructions in the workshop manual. When you're looking at number 2, especially in the wheel lip molding area, if the vehicle has wheel lip moldings or not, you can do the MIG plug welds. For quick time, something doing it very fast, the pop rivets are fine if you have the molding to cover it. The problem that people had with the pop rivets, especially in the wheel lip molding area, the wheel lip, is that they were large. You could see them, especially on lighter colored trucks. So the repair looks different than the original equipment rivet. Hence the reason we brought out the MIG plug welds. And then I had a great engineer, Will Heckman, who worked with me and said, we can do an SPR in these locations in the wheel lip. We were always looking to try to improve the repair. And technician feedback as well as insurance company feedback said, you know, if we had an SPR for the wheel lip, that'd be great. So that's why we offered it.
Okay. I think the question might have been getting at if there's a noted in the procedure where there is an SPR required, are they actually required to use the SPR? I think is the question they were asking. I think they were asking if they could use pop rivets or plug weld in place of SPRs where they're recommended.
The answer is on this entire repair, you can utilize MIG plug welds, the SPRs, or the pop rivets. We give that to the technician's judgment on how they want to do the repair. Perfect. None of it required. We don't have a, you must do it this way. We offer the technician choices.
All right, thank you. So our next one here is what size hole should they be using for the MIG plug weld?
Typically it's the 1/4 inch. You're looking at a 1/4 inch hole for your MIG plug weld. Naturally keep your glue away from it like we caution in the video as well.
Well, and I think, you know, that's where, you know, with that small plug weld size like that, your panel prep and fit up and test welding becomes even more critical, because you don't really have a whole lot of surface area. If you're not making a hot enough weld and getting that weld properly, you really got to practice that before you actually do that on the vehicle.
Highly recommended, Scott. You're right.
Great.
And then whether you're welding it or riveting it, what are the suggestions from Ford as far as corrosion protection?
Corrosion protection is standard industry. As far as you're going to go through, do your coatings, of course, you're going to use your Ford approved paint system. As far as we embrace, and it's in our workshop manual under restoring corrosion protection. So we embrace cavity waxes, we look at seam sealing, we look at all avenues that a trained technician would utilize in any repair, be it steel or aluminum, and that's covered in the workshop manual. We also have a hot link to the procedures that you see there. So when you see that in the actual Ford manual, you see the hot link to restoring corrosion protection.
All right. So
A question came up, if I could bring up a comment.
Yeah, go ahead.
On
Absolutely.
the new Lightning, shops are asking about corrosion protection on the Lightning. And the simple answer is yes, you can apply anti-corrosion products. Just try to keep them away from the battery, its attendant wiring, and especially the connectors. That's a new one that just came out recently, the last week or so, is how do I rust treat one of these vehicles, the new Lightning F-150? And our simple comment back is just avoid the battery, the cables, and its connectors.
All right, great.
So I think we've got a second video now that we'll like to queue up that shows the secondary procedure or the optional procedure of using just MIG plug welds.
After completing all the removal steps, sand to remove old adhesive and NVH sealer at the top rail and wheel lip. Then clean the area. Sand to remove old adhesive and NVH sealer at the rear pillar. Then clean the area. Ensure the NVH pads are installed correctly on the new panel as noted during removal. Drill for plug welds with the 6.5 mm drill bit at the points noted on the panel edge that are closest to the cab. Next, drill for plug welds at the points noted on the top rail edge. Drill for plug welds at the wheelhouse opening, at the rear of the panel above and below the tail lamp area, and inside the tail lamp area as indicated in the workshop manual. Now that all fastener holes have been drilled, install the replacement pickup box outer panel and clamp it into position with locking pliers. Begin performing MIG welds. Remember, with the MIG plug weld option, do not use adhesive, otherwise the weld joint will become contaminated. Perform MIG plug welds on the rear panel points, in the tail lamp area, and at all points indicated near the forward wall of the bed. Perform MIG plug welds at the wheelhouse opening. Then perform MIG plug welds at all top locations. Finally, perform MIG plug welds in the area of the top rail under the 4 stake holes inside the bed. As you can see, MIG plug welds are preferred compared to the appearance of blind rivets. With installation of the side panel complete, you can now reassemble the vehicle. Metal finish as necessary. Apply NVH foam in the locations noted during removal. Install the fastener behind the tail lamp. Seam seal to production levels. Refinish using a Ford-approved paint system. Install the pickup bed. Install the fuel fill door and cup on the left-hand side as needed. Install the tail lamp. Install the top rail cover, wheelhouse opening molding, and lower side trim. And finally, install the tailgate.
All right, another great video that I think clarifies a lot of things for the industry. We do have another question, Jerry. We've got
Certainly.
one now that says, can SPRs be used on the upper rail instead of using the blind rivets?
No, they cannot. With most of your SPR guns, in fact, all of them, we did not find any type of clearance available to utilize the SPRs in that area. When you see that, it's kind of a complex setup, and there's just no clearance to get the SPR gun in there, we found. So we're staying with the either MIG plug welds or the blind hemlock rivets up there.
Well, and I think, that's one thing that the industry has really seen a change in the last 5 to 10 years, where how it was assembled at the manufacturer is no longer the way we were repairing it in the shop. It doesn't matter if it's a steel vehicle, aluminum vehicle, or Frankenstein's monster, where it has carbon fiber, aluminum, and steel all blended together. That's a real important point for the education of the customer, that we are following the OEM procedure, and it's going to look different. It'll look good, but it's not going to match side to side necessarily, because this side will have rivets in it or welds that won't match the SPRs. So if you have that really particular customer, that's something you're going to want to educate them on in the very beginning of the process.
That is very, very well said, and something I'd like to comment on. When we were looking at working with our friends from Jaguar and Range Rover, and especially Aston Martin, we were looking at a front rail assembly on Aston Martin as an example one day. And I said, if this rail is replaced on one side and it's different than the other, it's going to look different. You're going to see the big-headed rivets with the repair glue obvious to the someone inspecting the vehicle. And unfortunately, that's the nature of the beast. That's the way it is. And when we have the OEM repair that states that, ultimately, yes, it is a flag that shows that rail's been replaced, and it does have a different appearance. Unfortunately, there's no other way around that with aluminum. The MIG plug welds were a compromise on something as the pickup bed, but we would never approve the MIG plug welds on the body side, where you've got 3 or 4 layers of aluminum structural. You've got the exterior skin to contend with. So we utilize the SPRs where we can, based on the design of the SPR guns and what they're capable of for service. However, the big-headed repair rivet is a fact of life in many repairs on these vehicles, and will be in any aluminum-intensive vehicle. Witness the Jaguar, Aston Martin, and all the others.
Okay, great. Well, we do have another question, and it's actually one that we've heard in other scenarios. I don't know that I've heard it on an F-150 bedside yet. But the question is there a lifespan on the bedside inners? So they're essentially saying, if you've had to replace that outer panel multiple times, is there a number of panel replacements you can do before you have to replace the inner as well?
It's the same as if you're dealing with steel, right? If you've MIG welded an outer box skin on a steel older F-150 multiple times, you've got heat affected zones, you've got damaged metal, you're going to replace that inner structure, right? So the thing that we're looking at is the same technician judgment. As they look at the vehicle, we are relying on the technician judgment and expertise to say, wow, this thing has had 2 bed skins already done on it. There's holes everywhere. Yeah, I think we need to do the inner wheelhouse on this one. So we leave that to the field and to the judgment of the estimator, the foreman, and the technician. making your repair plan.
All right, great. Well, I'd like to remind everybody that if you have any questions, if you're watching this on demand after the live broadcast today, if you have any questions, you can email those to repairsrealm@i-car.com. And if we can't answer those questions, we'll get to Gerry and get his reply to those questions and respond to you. At this point, that looks to be the last question that we've got. So, Gerry, thank you for joining us. This was great information for the
You're
industry,
welcome.
and we look forward to the next time that we get to have you here on Repairs Realm.
Thank you very much for having me, guys. Great to see you all, and look forward to the next one.
All right, take care.